Victor Boutros, man, what an amazing conversation we just had. You are doing some incredible work at Human Trafficking Institute. We could have kept on going for another hour with that recording, but we have one last question for you. We call this episode Leveling Up with TKM. David, over to you for that question.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Just what an incredible. I feel so blessed today just to walk away from this conversation with just more knowledge, right? You educated me specifically through the course of that, and just really in some ways that are absolutely life-changing the way that I look at some of these things, but also the ability to contribute and make an impact and really super important to draw hope from what you're doing in such a field that oftentimes is seems so hopeless. So what a beautiful podcast. Thank you for your time. Here's a question. What is the most impactful action you've taken to level up personally and professionally?
So, well, thank you guys. It's been such a gift to be with you guys and talk about this on your episode, and just to hear about the listeners that you have and the kind of engagement they have. I'm just very excited to hopefully we are interested in not just partnering together financially, but building relationships, and that's a great joy for us. And I would say that's connected to one of the biggest things that has happened to level up professionally and personally, and that's been these relationships and friendships that have developed. Uh, some of them through like financial partnerships with HTI. And when I first launched HTI, I thought, oh, now this is, for when I was at the Justice Department, it was really easy to raise money because my fundraiser was the IRS. So it's like, that's great. I don't have to worry about not having money for the next investigation. And then it was like, oh man, now we've got to raise funds. What is that going to be like? And I thought, well, maybe this is just like a necessary hardship of being in this space, and here we go. And I really simply thought, this is just going to be a really unfortunate thing. And what I've discovered is it's been much more of a gift to me, I think, than those folks have been a gift to HTI, and not just in terms of generosity, but in terms of just friendship and connection, and people who know me and my family and have now loved my family and my kids through multiple situations, and who are, and this is, I guess, the specific thing personally, who are Ebenezer's, right? The Ebenezer is kind of usually a reminder of God's faithfulness in the past. And um, I will say, I just through my own life and experiences, I've come to believe more deeply and trust more deeply that God has a plan and that He's working all things for good, even when it seems hard. That I've come to believe that more deeply. But there are times where I forget and where I feel weight. And usually it's my wife who will just sit down, and she'll always ask, Vic, what do you really need right now? Do you want to commiserate? What do you want? But yes, let's commiserate for 30 seconds and be like, okay, good. Now I'm ready to hear your advice. And she said, I just want to remind you. And she'll walk through like one story after another. I'll just share one of them because it's just a reminder of like just God's faithfulness that had nothing to do with my strategic brilliance or insight. It was just God's faithfulness. And I remember when we first posted for our first embedded expert to lead the work I talked about in Uganda, where we've now seen almost a 10x increase in the number of traffickers prosecuted over the last 4 years across an almost 50 million person country. The leader who drove that work, I posted the job description, and my wife read it and she said, you should have just written a job description for a pink unicorn because you're as likely to find the one as the other. Like, you want a highly experienced human trafficking prosecutor who's likely built a human trafficking unit, and you want that person to leave their secure government role, move with their family to Uganda, and essentially do a startup from ground zero that's supposed to drive this massive increase in enforcement. I was like, yep. She's like, do
Good
you
luck.
have people in mind? I was like, nope. And lo and behold, meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, Tyler Dunman and his wife, who are A&M sweethearts, Texas A&M sweethearts, had been traveling with their church to Uganda. And he was a 15-year prosecutor, had built the human trafficking prosecution unit outside Houston. One of the most experienced human trafficking prosecutors I've ever met. And he was in Uganda, on a mission trip, and someone said, "Hey, I think I've heard the Attorney General here is doing some stuff on trafficking," and that just stuck in his mind. He goes to the hotel that night, writes an email, cold email to the generic Attorney General of Uganda email address, not expecting a response. And he just says, "Hey, I heard you're doing good work in this space. This is what I do in the U.S. I'm just very pleased to hear that this is a priority, and just keep up the good work. Hope you continue to do the good work." To his surprise, the actual Attorney General writes back the next morning and says, "Hey, thanks for your kind note. I don't know if you know our partner in this space, Human Trafficking Institute, but if not, you should check them out. Here's their website." Never heard of us. Goes to the website, sees this job description for a highly experienced human trafficking prosecutor who's built a human trafficking prosecutor unit and needs to move to Uganda. And long story short, months later, he and his wife and their three girls, who I think are at the time are like 10, 8, and 2, are selling their cars, selling their house, moving to Uganda to lead this work. And she said, "Do you remember that moment?" And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "That is God's work, not your work. Like that is God's faithfulness through this work."
Oh
And
man, that's just a great coincidence, isn't it? Isn't
yeah,
it just a,
yes, it's part of my genius recruiting strategy.
of course, man.
Uh, and that to me, that's one story, but there's
That's
a
amazing.
dozen. And to me, those are the things. It's amazing. I laugh at the disciples who I'm like, how quick do you forget what Jesus just did in the
Mm.
last chapter? And that's what I'm doing, right? It's so easy for me to forget. And those reminders of God's faithfulness are what create an abundance mindset where there's no shortage of resources in God's kingdom. And so we don't have to work in this sort of protective, competitive environment. We can actually hold out our hands as the body of Christ and say, "Hey, we want all of God's kingdom work to advance. What can we do with open hands, recognizing there's no shortage of resources in God's kingdom to encourage people to steward their talents and drive joy?" And that to me has been such a personal gift that I regularly need from my wife that has helped me level up both personally and professionally.
Yeah, that's good. Amazing stuff, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank
Well
you
done.
guys. What a gift.
Thanks, Victor.
Well, and if you, in the for the sake of relationship and leveling up further, if you're looking for a new best friend, we could chat offline. So
Deal.
just throw that out
It's
I'm
there.
hard
in.
work.
I'm
It's
in.
hard work, dude. It's real hard work. I'm just telling you right
Really
now. Like,
sanctifying
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Victor, thanks, man.
Thank you, Victor.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.